as we were discussing this first character, she was going to be kind of a plant, right? She's going to try and work herself into a thieves guild. She, as an abjuration wizard, right? She's security. She's trying to repel, outsiders, that kind of a thing. And she's working on behalf of her mentor, who, unbeknownst to her, we presumed was actually the head of the thieves guild. And he was taking a bit of a morally ambiguous approach to this. Well, then we have Gurdon Adetes. And he is a fallen, he's an Oathbreaker paladin. He was a paladin of vengeance until he broke his oath. And we're having quite a very nice conversation about how could a vengeful paladin break their oath, and what could cause this? What could cause Gurdon to have this happen? As we were building him, all right. And here's his personality traits. And we let the dust settle. Now we came back tonight, and we made a brother. Remember, through completely random rolls, we ended up making a brother for Gurdon called Nike. And he is a Fey warlock, also lawful evil. So their lawful evilness might come from the fact that they're not from the area that we're going to focus on. Which is kind of good because, well, half-orcs are a minor race within this land over here in region number 1, Kandor. So we can look at our characters from a few different perspectives. A pact can be made anywhere with your patron, though there's probably going to be something more like in a wooded area, or like a big natural area of some place with a Fey resonance to it. That can happen here if we want to make the brothers from Kandor, and then they end up in another place where our campaign takes place. We look at our abjuration wizard, and we're talking about things like Thieves Guild or a powerful wizard, magic, stuff like that. We have 2 magic characters and a melee character who does have some magic. Hey, King. We've got to stabilize the gateway to the elemental realm of cuteness by stuffing the gateway with as many cute things as possible. So I need to confiscate that puppy, or the entire known universe could be at stake. Is that a Dorito island in the middle of the sea? It's a volcano. So maybe we made those spicy Doritos before that was even a thing. King, I'll stab you if you touch my puppy. Oh, jeez. Plunder Loot goes on an adventure in the plains. And, do you get it? You get advantage. 9 and 16. Oh, yeah. Plunder Loot, finally, on his 3rd life, on his 3rd trek through the plains, defeats a poisonous snake and gets 50 EXP. Yep, 3rd time's a charm, Bubonic. So, let's take the aspects of these characters. Right, we have half-orcs that could be from a neighboring Kandor. There's nothing to say that there can't be half-orcs in any of these countries. But we're looking for coincidences. We're looking for events and story pieces that we've generated that will holistically fit into what we've generated of the Mesotopia area so far. Alright, so Kandor's out. Alright. Mesomasca is out. Sorry, hang on. Some spicy salsa. I think I have a little run in my nose here. Pardon me if that's rude. So what else do we have going on in Mesotopia? Well, we have Lacuna, which is region 5 down here. Gnomes and halflings. Okay, so not a coincidence yet. Ruler status, respected, fair, and just. In that case, we have 2 lawful evil characters, and they'd be lawful evil because they don't fit in. Headquarters of a powerful family or guild. Oh, all right. So we might be seeing something, right? We're talking about a thieves guild or something along those lines. It's known for greedy merchants, and she's kind of this insider, right? We also have a merchant. We have Gurdon, who is a cobbler by trade. You know, like he is a paladin oathbreaker. That doesn't mean that he still can't know how to make shoes, or that he doesn't not make shoes. There's the one with the wild magic zone. We will get to that. Current calamity. A powerful wizard has moved into town. Well, Nike here suffers from terrible visions of a coming disaster. And wizards do a lot of that. Could that terrible wizard have been Alexandria's mentor? Just as sort of like an alter ego, almost, that she has? And she would need to bring it down. Greedy merchants, there's a powerful family or guild. And it is interesting that there's a canyon containing a dragon's graveyard, but none of those are really syncing up. Unless we're talking about a disaster, because also we flavored that the dragon's graveyard was here in the kind of the trail of this meteor that came and scooped out a part of the land and crashed down and fractured the fault line of this mountain range here before kind of like rolling and collapsing and causing a little bit of a lava bleed out for some igneous rock. So, Lacuna could be a solid location. Let's look at the others, though, just in case. Then we have Ukt, which is the green area down here between the mountains with the swamp. This is where we had our water temple. Forest gnomes and humans. So, half-orcs are possible. Half-elf, right? Half-elf, half-orc, half-orc. Ruler status, iron-willed but respected. There's a notable library or academy. Lots of woods if we want to go for a Fey Pact. You know, could there be some sort of a disaster? Possibly. Some things have been happening in Mesotopia lately. There's a library or academy, which means that our wizard could get training there. It's known for rude people. I don't know if rude people are evil, but we have 2 evil characters in the party. Something to consider. And a dungeon was discovered, which is causing adventurers to flock to town. So this alone could be, hey, we could develop this because our party is drawn here by the dungeon. And especially if our meta theme for this week's campaign is a dungeon, or is a campaign that doesn't have a big bad evil guy and a lot of random encounters. We have mountain encounters, lake, swamp encounters, jungle or forest encounters. You know, this freshwater river that kind of is on the border of a wild magic zone, seaside encounters. So we can think in character and out of character too for what the best fit could be. There's also an ancient tree containing a trapped spirit. We made a Fey Pact warlock. Could Nike have attained his powers here and the campaign takes place? I think we've made another strong case. Fallfire. Tieflings and halflings. Flings. This is clearly a place that King wants to rule over. There's a religious leader that is the ruler. It is the site of a mythic or magical event, and that is this comet that has fallen, right? This meteor, and struck, and kind of like carved out a swath in this area that even ruptured the fault here. It is known for gambling. And, hey, what is this? There's a war between rival thieves guilds. If we have mercenaries that are ported in, if we have mercenaries, maybe from Kandor, that are brought in, and we have a thieves guild plant whose aim is to control or subvert the thieves guild from within, we have 3 magical characters. Fallfire Plain might be a really good location for this campaign to take place. especially because with the possible threat of wild magic, that could make this non-final boss containing campaign have a little bit of RNG mixed into it aside from the encounter charts. And we're still getting a lot of different encounters. We have all these open plains, the fresh water, we have salt water, and we have almost like a not really a mountain per se, but almost like a quarry. Like it's stripped rock, and that flows down into the sea. Wild magic and fey magic are very common types of magic, says Bubonic, and that could come over. You know, we don't have a forest here, but that doesn't mean that trees couldn't also grow on the other side of the bank. Because again, we're gonna fill in this region that we choose, but we need to choose it first. Lastly, we have Aslandia, which is this mostly desertous region that has a little bit of like oasis and whatnot. They're very alike, says Bubonic. Yeah, you know, for playing tricks and getting things unexpected, I can see your comparison, Bubonic. We have high elves and rock gnomes. Well, we have a half elf here. So we have an elven base. It's right next to Kandor, so it's really easy for two half orcs to cross the mountains and come over to this area. Iron-willed but respected. So, you know, iron-willed but respected, that could be a lawful evil ruler that is resonating with lawful evil characters. It's known for tough warriors. Well, look, we have a child prodigy who's been through stuff, and she is blossomed out of this exposure to, you know, being in the mix of things. We have Gurdon, who's a tough warrior in his own right, and we have a very skilled warrior with Nike, because he battles just in a very different fashion, using blink and invisibility, teleportation, things like that. There is a plague or famine, which is sparking riots, that could play into. I suffer awful visions of a coming disaster, and so he wants to try and prevent it, especially because that could be leaking over. This could be leaking over back into Kandor, which is also undergoing a plague or famine. Right? So maybe it's spreading from Kandor coming over here, and he wants to prevent that from happening. If we want to give a PC a hook. Also, for a weird locale, look at this. There's a forest of petrified or awakened trees. And we can probably set that over here, or we can put it in the middle of the desert. Maybe it used to be an oasis, and now everything's kind of fossilized. And again, pardon, we'll fill in details when we choose our section. But we have a weird kind of a stand of awakened or petrified trees. Very good for fey magic. A lot of death out in the desert, so, you know, we get necromancy, things like that. Gurdon, for Gurdon to pursue. And Alexandria, you know, she's a half-elf, and you want to talk about court politics and everything? We have a city of that's mostly high elves that is built on a rich oasis on a trading port. This is where the wealth of this part of the region is. And there could still be a thieves guild. It's just not an obvious open revolt like in the other location. So, we've gone over our 4 other regions, and I think we could make a strong case for any of them. Some might resonate with you more than others. It sounds like Bubonic One is voting for Fallfire Plains to be the location of this campaign. If I'm wrong, Bubonic, correct me. Do any of the rest of you have a show of support or a counter argument to say, no, I think we can build a better adventure? Because remember, keep the meta in mind too, that we're making a non-big bad evil guy at the end campaign. This is going to be like a Breath of the Wild style campaign. We're going to go and we're going to visit locations and we're going to do tasks, maybe in order to head off, you know, so instead of a big bad evil guy, maybe, just maybe, we're going to be actually addressing whatever this coming disaster is and trying to prevent it. So, what do you all think? Where would you like to see this campaign take place? We have a nice big region, all 4, even though we randomly rolled it, and we randomly rolled 3 characters, we can see so much happening in any of these locations. Bubonic does like Fallfire, okay? King, Dark Wolf, Plunder Loot, Bobicus. Who else do we have here? I'll do a roll call. Call you out. Once the list loads. Electrical Skateboard. Although, Electrical, you don't talk too much, man. Clark. Shadzar. Sly Little Wabbit. Tycho. Come on, Tycho. If you're lurking out there, that's fine, but... Dark Wolf is saying the one that has the... the one that has the war between the rival thieves guilds going on in Fallfire. Alright, so we have 2 for Fallfire Plain. Electrical Skateboard is a bot. Gotcha. What does it do? Like, Spicy Larry, what does this bot even do then? Just collect information, or... But yeah, if any of you out there in viewer land, I have 2 votes to take us to Fallfire Plain for this. I like your enthusiasm, Bubonic, but it's fine. If people are just out there chilling and listening, that's fine. We have 2 votes to go to Fallfire, but I would like to hear if people have other rationale. Huh. It's a mystery. Spicy Larry. What if Electrical Skateboard is like a secret agent sent into... You better watch out. He's infiltrating your court. Because last I looked, Spicy Larry, I know you can't see it, but I'm swirling my mouse around your your stream boss status. You're still the boss. I have a buddy that streams, and he told me because I always... Yeah, I see Electrical Skateboard in a lot of streams, too. So, I don't know. I don't know. That's fine, Larry. I think, we have a location that we can use. The case was made that Fallfire Plain seems to be a good setup for the characters we have so far, and we can move from there. It'll give something for our 3 magic users to do, or to consider. It'll make an interesting extra challenge on top of what's going on. And it especially is an in for Alexandria, as a way to test yourself if there's a rival war between thieves guilds. Spicy, we're going over the 4 regions of Mesotopia that haven't had a campaign yet. Mesomasca and Kandor have been selected, so these 2 are out. So we went over the qualities we randomly generated for these other 4, and we're deciding where this week's campaign is going to take place. Now, it sounds like we pretty well have it set. Oh, we can use the whole region, Bubonic. Okay. So, we can keep this for reference, or rather I can do it this way. We'll keep that big and move that off to the side like this. Whoops. And move this over here. We'll put Fallfire Plains information up here at the top. There's that. And here is our canvas upon which we will paint. We will paint. Now, the tan here is acting as kind of a wasteland's border, where the desert slows down and transitions into plains, and the plains get rockier and transition into desert. That's what's meant here. It's not meant as like a beach or like a really sandy area. It's just kind of a scrubland or some sort of a border, showing that there's at least some kind of water or weather pattern that it's occurring here to keep this alive and going. Fallfire is big. Alright. We are going to get our pencils out. Pencils out, class. Pencils out. Come on, draw along with us. And we are going to have a little bit of fun. Only a little bit, though. A lot of fun is not allowed. Alright. So if we're starting at the border, we can say that the river and the waterfall is like shared, kind of, both can use it. Kind of a no man's land. So we can include, like, our picture's going to be almost this, but we're going to go into more detail. So we're going to come up this way. And it's going to come down like this. And we're going to come up from here. And we have another shared water border up this way. So this kind of scoops around and is going to then follow the wastes up. Actually, let's do this. And is going to go up this way and a little bit off the map. We don't have to fully define all that. And this desert could even be unclaimed territory or neutral or whatever. But this is now going to come back in and go down this way. And then we're going to meet this kind of crescent mountain here, which is going to extend down. With a lake there we go. Now we can fill in a little bit of little bit of stuff. So really, then we kind of have shore or developed coastline that comes along here. It kind of bumps out a little bit. There we go. And this transition here will follow up this way. And we can have this kind of be a little bit more detail. Flow is desert now, located over here. And we're going to need to draw out our river as it's flowing down from this mountain lake area, following the lay of the land, and give it a little bit more detail. Out to sea. Maybe we can even put a little island or something fun in there. And we'll have tributaries and things like that. This comes out to sea here, and really it cascades down the scoop out. So this is elevated going down into the sea. If we're following our water trail. Make it a little bit more wobbly than what we originally had. There. And come up this way. It meanders. And comes up here. There's a little splash out that's going to show brackish water. And we can fill this in now. The interior is going to be... Hey, Dark Wolf, thank you very much. I appreciate you doing that. That's super swell of you. Whoops. And we need to reflect the swamp just to the south. Right there. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. There we go. Fill this part in. Fill in our mountain range. Alright, we have a pretty solid concept now for this, I don't know what shape you'd want to call this. A very sad kind of broken wine bottle, like kind of it bends or something. I don't know. Did we ever get the table sorted, or should I go back to the dishes? Oh. I think this was the right one. I think this is the right one, but I needed to redo... I need to add some distinction for the feet and everything sheds are. So for right now, if you want to do the dishes, go ahead, because this is going to need some more... it's going to need a little bit more work in order to get it to the point that I want to have it at. Like, Bubonic fixed a couple of aspects of it, but I need to actually sit down and go over it and adjust a couple things to where I wanted to get it back going. I wonder if this shouldn't just curve up a little bit more, right? Because this is really coming out. I think we might add a little bit more land mass. This was coming up, and then this was really continuing along this way. Because there's a split. There's a split just before here. Hey, Shavelis. I'm doing very well. We're doing some map making, a lot of positive energy going on. We have some great characters lined up for a campaign challenge that was issued out to make a campaign that does not have a BBEG. And so we're taking a map that we created a couple weeks ago for an entire region that we're going to host a series of campaigns, and we're expanding on that right now. This one's called the Fallfire Plains. So if you have any questions on what we're doing or where this is going, please let me know, and I will do my best to answer them and get you caught up. If you have questions in general for D&D, for 5th edition D&D, or if you want to talk about your own experiences at the tabletop as a player, or as a player or as a DM, you are more than welcome to do so. This is fun, you know, kind of tutorial, conceptual stuff to help those who may want to run a game themselves and to give them ideas. Alright, so here's this kind of wasteland transition area. And that's going to bring in the little bit of the desert from the neighboring country over here. That slopes down. This is sloping down. Remember, water's flowing down from higher places. It always takes the path of least resistance, and it goes out to the sea. This is gonna be like rapids and everything as it comes down through this scooped out area where we had this meteor fall in days gone past. This is a deep water area here. And where this thing impacted is definitely making a big scoop out. It gets deep really quickly here. There we go. Whoops. I sprung a leak. There we go. Stopped by the other night and I was fleshing out a campaign, continuing on that. So what we're doing on a weekly basis in the channel, Shavelis, is when we pick up the broadcast on Tuesday, it's a fresh week. And over the course of the week, we end up making 5 characters that are randomly rolled. And we develop their backstories. We develop their interpersonal relationships with each other. We go from there. And then we supplement those 5 characters, usually with a map, maybe a dungeon, or some PC or DM advice. And you can see the weekly schedule down below. So what we're making now is we've buttoned up that last campaign, and you could watch that in the VODs here on Twitch or on the YouTube page that I've been taking our content clips and uploading them to for future reference. So that campaign is existent in this region because that's what was going on here. This is now going to focus on this area of Mesotopia. And eventually we might find a way to be able to button up all of the campaigns together in order to create a meta campaign among all of them and develop this as a fully as a region with culture and these things that are happening, a timeline of events, and build to some great conclusion from it. So it is that particular campaign is being continued on in the region, but we have finished that for the project of the week, and we're now working on a current campaign that will conclude this Saturday, because we broadcast Tuesday through Saturday. And we have these characters generated so far, their personalities, backstory, reasons why this is a fallen an Oathbreaker paladin. Reasons why we have this this Fey Pact Warlock. These are brothers that we determined, again, through random rolls, by the way, which I love entrusting that to randomness. And very cool, very compelling characters. So if you have questions on them, or you want to know who we've generated so far, or what's going on here, you can always ask. Nice, you're teaching about... Yes. Yeah, this is, the focus of the channel right now is on creation, and is on storytelling, tips, tricks, as PCs, as DMs, especially to help people. We have a lot of DMs in the audience, but if there are newer players who maybe have always want to run D&D, then this is a way for them to have a little bit of courage bolstered, and as a way to possibly learn about techniques, from pros, because it's not just me, it's also us in the audience, as we share tips and tricks and go from there. So yep, every week it's a new campaign, it's fresh characters. The stats matter, but we're not min-maxing. We're not doing math. We're doing story building and story and character creation, that kind of a thing. So hopefully that's jiving with what you really enjoy as far as D&D goes, Shavelis. Yeah, storytelling via the character creation process and the campaign creation process. Alright, now what we can do is we're adding a little bit more detail to the region map. There's nothing saying that a lot of these trees can't also... it's a different region, and so it's not going to be as vast as the area that we developed before. But there can still be, like, this little area here that does have a lot of lumber around it. Maybe this kind of comes down like this here, and then it'll kind of scrub out as we get close to this transition area. There we go. Just remember, as we determined, as the weather blows in from the west, it's baffled by the mountains and routed this way. And so most of the rainfall hits Ucht down here. Though a lot of it is still wafting up, creating more of a Great Plains effect. You're getting rainfall. It's not dry, arid land. It's just not heavily supportive of canopies, big forests and jungles, and going from there. And it also does get an infusion of fresh water by the water that's accumulated by the mountain, that's helping to trap the weather patterns coming down here, and flow a little bit through the heartland of the area, as well as along the border with Ucht. RP never died. It's been alive since the 60s. Shavla says, man, I'm an old school player. Just getting back into D&D. 3.5 had just come out last time I played. Great to see the resurgence. Oh, and so Shads are... Yeah, it's... that's what I do really hope to focus on. There's a lot of... the D&D category in Twitch has a lot of cool stuff in it. A lot of people playing games, broadcasting modules, going from there. And I figured, well, let's do a channel that is... It is D&D, but let's focus on the creative process of D&D. Rolling dice is ubiquitous. I mean, we can roll dice for all sorts of things. We can have encounters, and that's fine. Battles are and tactics are a part of what we're doing, and I will be incorporating. I will be incorporating that kind of content a little bit later in the channel's life. But for right now, this is filling a unique niche, or niche, or niche, however you want to pronounce it, in so much that as a community, we're making a world together. And after we've made this world together, then I can start setting some adventures and broadcasting adventures inside the area that we've explored and we've gone over one step at a time. So, you know, Shavlis, if you're just getting back into it and it's been a while, please ride along, ask questions. You know, you're not gonna bug any of us here, and I'm thankful for you finding us and being a part of our community. Yep, some of the biggest channels on Twitch sometimes are D&D on certain nights. Yeah. Yeah, the, oh boy. Was it, Critical Role gets, 15,000, something like that, peak watchers. And then, just earlier tonight, there were 2 campaigns that were being run that have, internet personalities in them. The one had about 1,000 viewers, and it has Gaijin Goomba from YouTube playing in it. And the second most popular one had about 300 players, I think. And it had Moon Moon, who is a very well-known streamer here on Twitch. You think this belongs in creative? Why do you think this belongs in creative and not D&D, Shadzar? Like for a create your own adventure book you were reading. Critical Role had over 40K. Wow, nice. But as we go through things, Shavlis, you know, we bring up biology, ecology, geography, geology. For the campaign that we're doing now, we're also going to look into habitats of animals. We're going to be creating some random encounter charts to go along with a full campaign that is not going to have a big bad evil guy as the plot hook. So we're going to have locations to visit, things to do in order to address a certain situation. If you want to put a channel in Shadzar, that's fine. I'm not in competition with Critical Role or any of these other players. Geek has 10,000 people on average, and even rerun nights it's 3,000 or more. Shav says, I'm loving the 5e rules. They seem to have simplified things while leaving enough complexity for good roleplay. It was a return from the exploration of 4th edition. I really like 4th edition personally. I run 5th edition currently in my campaign. I like 4th. But I do get what you're saying, Shavlis, and I do agree on that sentiment. All right. So we have a map that we filled in little bits on, and we're gonna fill in a little bit more as we breathe some life into this area more. Yeah, let's put a couple like little peaks in here. Maybe that, maybe a fun little. We'll put a little bean there, and something that's really close to create kind of a little strait for people to sail through. There we go. Give our mountain a little bit more life. Well, D&D isn't about storytelling. That is something added. Even Mike Merle said it isn't about storytelling in several places. You can use it for it, but writing a novel in any length doesn't make something D&D. Yeah, Bubonic. 3rd edition was very powerful, though I think it just got very top-heavy. Yeah, Shavlis, I do think a good campaign... I do go for the storytelling approach. The mechanics, the battle, the spells are fun. I do it for storytelling. I do it because we're a group of friends. We eat dinner together, and we sit down, and we flesh out characters, and we tell a story that has random elements inside of it. And then we adapt ourselves to those random elements. D&D audience has certain taste than it would have other audiences and bigger audiences in creative. Like they went from 4 viewers painting minis to 20 viewers. I think we have several ideas going, Shadzar. I'm not sure if I'm following you. Plunder Loot is going on an adventure in the plains. Speaking of the open plains, right? Is it a rabbit? No. A kobold mage jumps out. He rolls, stops on a 2, and Plunder Loot again dies in the plains. Oh, rip. Now, something interesting that we can do here, right? Because we kind of had this flare out. Why? Well, whatever. It's a wandering hand. We can come up with all sorts of reasons. This has happened. Now, why is this kind of a, beach, transition area, wastes or rocky outland? Why are we going to like really arid, non-farmable land? And why is it reaching in so far here? This could be the location of maybe a big salt deposit. Maybe something happened where we could even say this is some kind of a. We could even say that this is maybe some kind of a divot, or a place that was filled in, or a quarry, or some lake, or this could be salt water, or it's very salty because it used to be salt water, and it got filled in maybe from debris when this historical event happened where the meteor crashed. And so it's salted earth. We can explain that very easily that way to our players. So if we wanted to even indicate that, we can come here and we can turn it maybe a light purple. And so this is sort of just like a salted area. It's just open. And it's a clue as to what's happening here. It's going to have its own little ecosystem, that kind of a thing. Right, so this would... If this was an extension, it would really just sort of fall out here. And fall out this way. Maybe even be a little bit more bulbous and come around here. So this is like a salt flat, or just it's just a non-farmable piece of open area. Yep, falls the kobold. Plunder Loot wants a res, please. Geek and Sundry is the streamer who isn't as big as Critical, but still a lot of people will swear by his style, says Bubonic. Why be pigeonholed in a D&D for, or Worlds for that? Why not do one of these things for World of Darkness? We could. I mean, I'm not going to map out Chicago or New York, because that's already done. But we could sit down and go over that. I'm choosing D&D, though, because it is more of a brand a lot of people know, have heard about, and we'll go from there. And I did tease it in Discord, too, that I'm very open to exploring the Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules when those are released, and maybe do some side-by-side character creation, test the differences, and go from there. So yeah, it's open, Shadzar. I do know some Forgotten Realms lore, Shavlis. I don't play a lot in there since I've been using my own homebrew world for a while. But I might recognize a lot of names, and even if I don't, you think you're going to find a lot of people, well, over here. You'll find a lot of other audience members who might be able to address something. Did you have a question on Forgotten Realms? You play World of Darkness, let's get at it. Sheds, are you okay over there? What's going on, man? Or do you need... You're playing a cleric of Ilmater. Okay, I am familiar. I know I've heard the name Ilmater. The general portfolio and its domains are escaping me. Wonder if it would be believable that she has no formal training. Is Ilmater a god of skill or something? Whoops. Life domain. Bubonic says Ilmater is the broken god. If you have a rules lawyer DM, then it's what the book says. Yeah? Alright. Well, while you are discussing that, feel free to continue that discussion, by the way. I'm going to... get a document open so that we can create the regions of this place, right? Here, let's get our pencil out. We're going to make some boundaries, some political borders now, so we can break this area up into regions. We have a red X here because we figured that there would be a big trading city on either side. And given how close this is to the sea, right, we have the Mesotopia area region as a whole. It would be away from this maybe very violent waters, very interesting area to sail in. In fact, we could probably even put in some little islands or something off there. But this would probably be the location of the capital of this region, of the Fallfire Plain. Or at least a major city if we didn't want to put the capital way in the interior. But, you know, if we're talking trading goods and culture, and go from there. And the one across the way would be maybe a major city or something along those lines. So we have our kind of capital region, which is probably going to be isolated by itself. So that way it can focus on international relations and trade and go from there. So if we go and we put in some nice little dashes right along here. There's our political border. We can then have a region that is focusing on the study, maintenance, control, confinement, whatever, of this wild magic zone where the meteor had an impact. And so that could come up, rather, it would sort of like split off here. And we can even give them a little bit of river real estate and some woods. We really have, so out here would be kind of the boonies, right? This would be, yeah, it borders the country here, and it might be seeing, you know, not really war with it, but it's not going to be as close to centers of culture or trade. I mean, maybe really close up here, but this would really be its own region on this side of the river. Big open region. So then we have this part that is containing this salt flat. It borders with this one along the river. Now this little part here is part of this country. But this can come over and flow upwards. There. Meaning that this is its own interior region. You know, this is controlling a lot of the woods and the forest, and it has a lot of river exposure. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regions. That seems to work. 5 region works. Hey, Derek, it's good to see you. And I'm done the game for now. You discovered something about your playgroup today. They are named to Metallica Slither. There ain't no heroes here. Was this the Vampire the Masquerade game that you started, or is this something different? Going back, Shavlis is saying, I like the idea of the cleric spontaneously healing a drowning child and seeing Ilmater in a vision. What do you think? Bubonic One says, cool, but where did he get his cleric powers before Ilmater showed himself? She doesn't even know the god's name at first, but it's chosen. She had no powers until the vision. I want to try something different from the typical clerics that you've played. Oh, it's good that you're challenging yourself, Shavlis. Bubonic says, okay, explains how sorry, please be specific, Ilmater took her under his wing while showing the child the blessings. And this is when Derek comes in. And Bubonic continues, it's oftentimes with Ilmater who is suffering and is there a way I can help? Bubonic continues, Ilmater bestows his blessings upon the weakest and the downtrodden. Oh, Curse of Strahd, that's right, you were running that. That's right. In fact, I guess it was appropriate that Mr. Plunderloot died to scarecrows and other things along the path. Alright, so we don't need this map. And we have created 5 different regions for Fallfire Plain. And within that, it is time to give a little bit of life and consideration to Fallfire Plain. Okay, so now this can scoot over, and we are going to bring up the DMG, because this is going to have some content for us to be able to generate the specifics of the region that we're making. Because overall, this is what's happening in Fallfire Plain. Tieflings and halflings are the predominant races, especially stout halflings. There is a religious leader that's ruling over all the territories. It is the site of a mythic or magical event, and that's going to be this comet or this meteor falling. That has also then created a wild magic zone. It is known for gambling, and we can reflect that in culture, some other things. And a current calamity, there's a war between rival thieves guilds. Now, what was really fun is in the Candor Attitude, we had brought up that the thieves guilds were fighting amongst each other, which means that something can be stirring in the underbelly of Mesotopia as a whole, and we're getting into it. This might be the cause. We might be solving a regional problem with this campaign's conclusion. Thanks for the prompting, Bubonic. This will help me narrow my theme. Ilmater's clerics are often very well received everywhere. Good gods go. Along with Lathandar, he is among the most loved gods for good humans throughout Faerun. He's amongst the strongest protectors of children amongst all gods of Faerun. Kind of on the reverse side of that, what happened in... not to take away, because Shavlis and Bubonic, I'm actually getting some nice Faerun lore from your conversation. But as we're talking about protecting children and blessing them and all that, Curse of Strahd doesn't play too nicely with that idea. What did you... was it a solid session? What did you end up doing? You said that the group is there ain't no heroes here. Are they going anti-heroes? Are they going murder hobos? Like, what's happening here? There we go. All right, adventure climax. We're almost there. Complications. So here we have 2. Here we have 3. Here we have 4. And here we have 5. Now, we already know the natural, right? Because there's natural aspects here. We can see who is, you know, controlling what. There's a salt flat. There's a crater. You know, the river and such are going on here. And we can add those in. This is going to give us some randomization. This is going to allow us to throw a bunch of dots out there and connect them and make the area come alive with what it is that we're given. Curse of Strahd is among one of the best adventures for non-good characters. That's true. You can take an evil party through Curse of Strahd, and the mod accounts for an evil party doing evil things, especially being murder hobos. Shavlis, I like the idea of a downtrodden person desperately trying to help a suffering child, catching the notice of Ilmater, and he blesses her effort and bestows power to her. Yeah, that's a great... It's not a story of redemption, right? It's a story of grace, of earning the affection of a deity. And then, of course, Shavlis, it's, you know, you're not a paladin, but I can see, based on your discussion, how someone could very easily fall out of Ilmater's grace. So there could be a challenge, right? If your DM is going to try and challenge your morals, your ideals, things along those lines, in order to continue to have this power of Ilmater. Or I don't know if you're saying Ilmatar or however you're pronouncing it. Ilmater is how it's been brought up with me. Just like I tend to say Camarilla for Vampire the Masquerade, but I know that kind of causes some people to go, ugh. No, it's Camarilla, hard L's, hard L's. La, say it after me, Camarilla, la 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 la. Derek says, well, one party member sliced off the arm of the child because the old woman broke it, pulling him away from the parents, and the ensuing struggle broke it to a 90-degree. Rushed them to the church for healing, where they found out how healing works in Curse of Strahd. Namely, bleeding black ichor out your eyes and wound while throwing up whole liters of it. Oh, wow. That's an interesting flavor you gave that, Derek. She's actually a powerful warrior, which may put her in conflict. Oh. Ilmater? Yeah. So it'd be in conflict because maybe her first instinct would be to stand up and physically protect or impose when that goes against the teachings of Ilmater. All right, let's reset this and get some D20 rolls in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna roll 5 D20 at a time and fill in the numbers, and then we'll see what our casting of bones tells us about this region and how we can populate it and make adventure locations. Oh, Plunder's gonna tell us about the night's events? Oh, jeez. It isn't Mexican, says Shadzar. What isn't Mexican? Shavla says, yes, exactly, though I understand his teachings allow for violence to protect the weak. Probably in in like the most dire circumstances, or when you have no other option. That kind of a thing. Like, you're not going to go out and hunt people proactively. It would be a reactive violence, a protective violence. Actually, Shavlis, down below, in the YouTube links section that I have in the information page for this Twitch channel, there is a link to a place called Faerun History, or the History of Faerun. That might have further insight into this god, or something along those lines that might be able to help you out. 5d20s, roll them. 16, 17, 14, 11, and 8. Roll it again. 20, 10, 4, 5, and 15. Roll it again. 4, 17, 13, 18, and 3. Roll it again. 12, 12, 19, 1, and 17. And lastly, let's roll it one last time. 17, 6, 9, and 2, and 14. Hey, Delcorin, welcome. Yeah, there's a wiki about it. Oh, you're saying that that it should be hard L's because Camarilla isn't Mexican. That may be, but the term Camarilla came out of not just from Mexico, but from Spain, as a court, as like a Camarilla was a kind of a royal court, and so it originated in Spain. Though of course in English we might give it hard L's instead, so we call it the Camarilla. You know, and even if you look at what official voice acting in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, which I might play after I finished Diablo 3. I'm on the final act of it. Even they say, now of course they're American vampires, but they call it the Camarilla. But I guess for flavor, calling it the Camarilla would be sort of the old-fashioned way of saying it, or it's just something along those lines. You know, how fancy do you want it to sound? Don't do YouTube videos for D&D setting stuff, says Shadzar. What about the Powerball number? I guess I am kind of generating Powerball, eh, Delcorin? The pronunciation game is great if you want a verbal tick culturally between elders and neonates. Yeah. Oh, in Brujas? Yeah. Yeah, so that is true. You could use that as a distinction, a very subtle pronunciation way of getting into things, Derek. And what's really fun is, if I recall correctly, bruja means witch in Spanish. But yet here we think of bruja like a brujaha, or, these big, just a brute, right? Because they tend to be like these big, tough, tough and rumble guys. But bruja, again, unless I'm crossing my wires here, the old bruja had time magic, and they were more magical. The word witch in Spanish is derived from the clan's name. Okay. Oh, so yeah, you're thinking it's like Bruja? Kind of like, I'll show me the way. Look at Kindred the Embraced, where White Wolf was involved in getting the names pronounced the way that they wrote it. Yeah, chicken or egg, right? Okay, Plunder Loot. I'll take a look at the Discord in a little bit here. And then we will see what shenaniganery has happened in the Curse of Strahd. Almost there. Wilderness. Here's a monument area. We didn't use monuments because we already kind of have some monuments in store, but we could always add this as flavor if we needed to. However, we do have weird locales, and we're going to start with that in the 5 regions. Weird Locale 8. A battlefield where lingering fog occasionally assumes humanoid forms. Ooh. 15. In region 2, it was 15. A haunted hill or barrow. Region 3. Wild magic zone. Okay. Well, we have one of those. I think we know what region 3 is. Unless we want to extend it even beyond, and we can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Region 4 is 17. Field of petrified soldiers or other creatures. Ooh. Maybe we have almost like a Gomorrah situation, right? The meteor fell and they looked back and turned into salt pillars kind of a thing. Region 5, weird locale is 14. A haunted hill or barrow. Very good. Good stuff. Lies, the snake was first. Delcorin, so what have I missed while dealing with annoying family that came into town for Easter a couple days early? Yep, Shadzar's been doing dishes. So we made a third character who ended up, through random rolls, being the brother to Gurdon. Because we rolled another middle-aged male half-orc. And it seemed to make sense. He was a warlock. Pact of the Fae and chain magic, but he's going to go into a lot of necromancy. And so Gurdon might have forsaken his oaths in order to follow his brother, who's back from the Outlands. And with him, with his brother, he is suffering from awful visions of a coming disaster and will do anything to prevent it, including getting his brother to fall and break his oaths and come along with him. And then after that, we decided after going through the 4 remaining regions of Mesotopia that the Fallfire Plains would be conducive to our 3 of 5 party members. And so we went in and made it more detailed in paint. We put in some extra little, geography bits and put in political borders for the different areas. And now we're going in and we're going to assign traits to the regions that are going to help us to further frame the campaign that we're going to make on Saturday, which, as Bobicus has challenged us to not have a big bad evil guy as the hook. And we're going to also be using some random roll tables and things like that. Shadzar says we have a player returning from 3.5 and liking 5e. Yes. So Delcorin, that is true. We have Shavalus is returning, was asking about Ilmater of the Forgotten Realms, and a character that's being run. Plunderloot says, Shadzar, you realize there are more countries than just Mexico that speak Spanish, as in Spain as well as Philippines. On a side note, I believe it's also the same in Italian. The room list isn't loading right now. You don't live in Europe. I don't know. I know no Spaniards. Well, yeah, and I understand Plunderloot. We got that. It might be the same there. I mean, just like in Italian, you have the 2 C's that make the ch sound. 2 L's, hard or soft. Delcorin says, oh, I'd leave the brother. Just another person to weigh him down. All right, we have we need to get in our ruler status for our different areas as well. So here's our chart for it. We already pre-rolled for our regions. 16 on deathbed. Claimants compete for power. 20. A religious leader. So region 2 might end up being the capital, right? Because the overarching area is run by a religious leader. 4 is respected, fair, and just. 4 is a mysterious, anonymous cabal. And 5 is 17, an iron-willed but respected leader. All right. And where did this revelation come from, Plunder Loot, about Ukrainian and Estonian women? Notable traits, 17. Ooh, a sinister reputation. That might explain why the ruler status of Region 1 is on his or her deathbed. Bobicus just saw the Far Cry 5 endings, and they were disappointing. And I'm sorry you're disappointed, Bobicus. Having been through South and Central America, it is very nationalistic, where, you know, you obviously can't call everyone a Mexican who is Hispanic from Europe or North, Central, or South America. Though when you get into South America, Central America, it's not, I'm Hispanic. It's not that, it doesn't get boiled down to that as it does further north here in the U.S. and maybe Canada. It's, I'm from Peru. I'm Peruvian. I'm Brazilian. I'm a Panamanian. It comes down, like, I'm a Venezuelan. I am a Colombian. It comes down to the nation from which they're from, not really about an overarching genetic set. It's more about the culture of that particular country. I have when I worked at Cedar Point, Plunder Loot, there are many men and women who are brought over from Eastern Europe to help work at the amusement park, and so I have worked beside a lot of people from those countries. Also, I was part of the International Student Union when I was in undergrad, and so I was around a lot of students from other countries. Yeah, although, you know, it was interesting, Bobicus, when I was down in Peru and even in Panama, there are different sort of accents. Or I was traveling with someone who has Mexican heritage, and he could speak Spanish, but Mexican Spanish and especially like Puerto Rican Spanish, it would be like saying that it's English, but are you speaking with an Irish or a Scottish accent, and how understandable is it? Because some accents are really heavy. In fact, Peru, from what I was told, is often a source for corporate call centers in South America, because Peruvian Spanish is closer to Spain Spanish of all of the other South American Spanish-speaking countries. And so, because they have a very neutral accent, it is Spain Spanish mostly, from what I was told. But you get into other countries, and accents and words and vocabulary can get thick, can even be not as easily understood by native Spanish speakers. You know, just think if someone walked in speaking English but had a very thick Scottish accent, or a very thick Irish accent, or had a very, like, deep South twang. and you're having you get the gist, but you're not necessarily understanding everything that's being said. Yeah, Bobicus. Yep, and these are interesting things to bring up too. Like when we're talking about an area that has maybe different political borders, different races living in it, different languages, things along those lines. No, I don't need Windows help. That was just something that fell over. You can go away. There we go. All right. Where were we now? Notable traits? Is that what? Yeah, we're doing notable traits. 10. Destitute. Run down. Ooh. This will be interesting. Notable traits 17. Oh, we have another sinister reputation. Merge. Notable traits 12. Center of trade for one specific good. And number 6. A river divides the town. Okay. Well, I think we know where we can put something like that. It's known for its 14. Education. It's known for 4. Artists and writers. It's known for its 13. Godlessness. Ooh, in the middle of a religiously controlled country at that. Might get some interesting cases of secularism versus some sort of a deism. Known for its 19, a strong drink. Maybe that's what the center of trade for one specific good is. Known for its 9. Decadence. Tell us, Scott, they're speaking Irish. When you wake up in a hospital a week later, tell me how that worked out for you. Yeah, Scots and Irishmen both speak English. The Queen's English is sure as heck different than American. That is true. Derek says, I think my group is making me callous to human suffering. Oh, jeez. Bomb. Jeez, Derek. That's, I'm gonna have to read this story if Plunder Loot is accurately describing what's going on here. Some Irishmen speak Gaelic and some Scots speak Scots, but they mostly speak English. Yeah, there's Gaelic and others. I mean, English itself. There's a book that I could recommend to you. I have it on Audible, but I imagine it'd be a great read also. It's called English, Our Magnificent Bastard Tongue. And it gets into the history of English and just all of the influences caused from all of the mixing of all of these people. And it is really, really interesting. Celtic and Gaelic and all this. Oh, it's cool. I'd recommend it. What? I like suffering. Flutterloot continues, note to self, when a goblin player says that if you want to die, it's probably a bad idea. And you are the goblin player. Oh yeah, by the way, Plunderloot, Delcorin reincarnated into a goblin female cleric. So, there you go. You got some support. And the current calamity going on in the region. So remember, overall, there's a war between rivals thieves guilds. That is affecting all regions. In the particular regions that we're making, the current calamity is an economic depression. 5 is a plague or famine, which sparks riots. And hey, wouldn't you know, in all of the other places we've had this, we've also had a haunted hill or barrow. Hey, we're making connections now. We're making connections in the greater region. Current calamity, 18. A scandal threatens powerful families. Current calamity, 1. Oh, a suspected vampire infestation. Ooh, it's ruled by a mysterious anonymous cabal. A A. Some strong drink. It's a center of trade for a specific good. Maybe a blood wine. A. Doesn't have to be. I'm throwing stuff out there. And current calamity, a new cult seeks converts, which we had in another part of the region, and that was a Sahagin cult. So almost like some great old one, like Dagon stuff, or I don't know, maybe something different. This is a religious area. What do we have? You're goblin female now. I don't plan on staying a goblin female for very long. And then immediately goes into a random forest. You attack normally. You stop at 5 plus 2. Oh no, the treant pair. Yeah, you didn't think you'd last long. I'm a Gabo barbarian in Barovia. A Gabarovibarian. How could we do that? Gabo barbarian in Barovia. A Gabaroviarian. You have my attention. Must be rubbing off on you. The land of avocado. That's true. By the way, Derek, for maximum horror, make sure that Barovia has avocado trees. Like, it's a whole forest of avocado trees. Like, ancient avocados. Like, the size of, like, these trees could be growing, like, pod babies inside them. Like, such are the size of the avocados of Barovia. The blood of the vine, perhaps. Yeah, I think it's Shab. Shab? I was thinking Sahagin. And yeah, there's the whole pantheon of elder gods that we can put in a circumstance like this, where we had a piece of the cosmos fall to the earth, some deep water, rivers and forests and other things like that. You didn't know vampirism was originally a curse brought about by the eating of avocado. I'd have to look at a pantheon of the great old ones, Shadzar. It might be Shab. It might be Shab. I don't know. I think that's... Alright. We have a region. Huzzah. Here. And we can fill in the little details about what is where. In all these, we can label our regions too. That's not really going to be a problem. Though I do need to get up and take a break, so we've put in work. We've made this more detailed map, and we'll fill in more. We'll fill in details based on what we're seeing on the document over here, right over here. Nah, my finger's disappearing. Where's it going? We'll do that, and I'll come back for a part 3. But, our part 2, we got in the bulk of the work that we need done. It's now just a matter of distributing the things through the regions, just like, picking out the spells for our Warlock. Our Warlock is built. We're really just going to be seasoning our Warlock with the spells that we give him. So, hold tight, 5-10 minutes, probably closer to 10 as I get up and stretch and drink some more, some lemon tea. And we'll go from there. I'll read your description, Plunder Loot, when I get back, okay? Alright, I'll be back soon.